How's it going, guys? Hope all are doing. Welcome to a new video tutorial from Immutables on the channel of learning programming and web development. So today we have a really awesome thing to learn about React actually and rich text editor. So we're actually going to go through and walk through, actually we could create a new series about the Draft.js rich text editor framework. So the Draft.js rich text editor framework is pretty much a framework that allows you to create your own rich text editor. So if you're not familiar with rich text editor, it's pretty much everywhere. If you have used WordPress before, which allows you pretty much to type in text, you can change the fonts, you can change the size of the text, you can, color the text, you can give it a background color, you can do a billion other things, you can, the indentation, you can make it center, align it center, left or right. I have a lot of things you can do with rich text editor. So I probably guess that you have used like a such text editor in your life at least once in your life. With Word or something like Microsoft Word. So it's pretty much the same thing, but this one is for React and for the web. So you can create that for the web. So if you have ever used something in the web, this is the right format for you. So this is the official website, draftjs.org, and this is actually from Facebook. It's an open source project. It's from Facebook. It's created since Facebook has, grown up. So it's being used on Facebook daily. So if you're familiar with Facebook, let's say you try to put a comment or something, you're gonna find Draft.js right there. Just adding some, when you try to add a hashtag or try to shout out to something or to someone on Facebook or Twitter. So the Draft.js is actually being used in this one. So you can clearly notice an example if you go to the official website. So this is like a quick or the simplest example you can achieve using the Draft.js framework. So as you can clearly see, this is what a rich text editor looks like. So you can type in like hello word right here, and you can actually edit it however you want. You can change the header to H2, H1, H4, H3, whatever. You can give it a bold, so you can clearly see it's bold. You can give it italic, underline it. It gives a quick underline, and you can add other more features. And this is actually being powered by CSS, which pretty much means you can add whatever thing you can do with CSS, whatever you think you can do with CSS, whatever style, whatever animation, you can add it into the Draft.js in here, and you can actually later on export it as a unique HTML or like a plain HTML. Then you can use it, save it on a database, or you can publish it to your website or something like this. So this is how content management systems actually work with their custom-made rich text editors. I don't know if they're using Draft.js, but for me, the Draft.js framework is the best thing, especially if you know React and you've been well-known with React and you've been working with it for quite some time for now. So the Draft.js editor framework, it's a quite nice thing to learn, especially right now. So it's super cool framework. So I've been using this for quite some time for now, like for 3 months, 4 months or something, and I'm trying to build a rich text editor. So this is what I've reached so far, as you can clearly see. So this is where you can reach as well if you try to use that. I think I'm gonna put this in open source after finish it. It's not like that much of a lot of things left for this to finish, but as you can clearly see, you can use it however you want. You can type in text, and it has a hell of a lot of more features. Bold, italic, you can add colors to it. You can do a hell of a lot of things, as you can clearly see. So this has been created by me, by Stampinous, of course, from scratch using the Draft.js framework. So this just was a quick overview of what you can do with this Draft.js. So as probably enough talking about theoretical things. This is what we're gonna do on this series. So this is just a getting started, set up the project, and just shows you what is a Draft.js and how it's being used, and showing you some demos so you can clearly know what you're actually doing and what you can do with this framework. So it's quite a good framework. It has a really awesome documentation. Not that much of tutorials out there, so you can probably find mine very helpful if you're trying to go ahead or go through and learn Draft.js or try to do something useful with the Draft.js framework. Otherwise, you can probably look somewhere else. So without further ado, guys, let's just go ahead and jump into the Visual Studio Code project that I've created behind the scenes, actually. So as you can probably see in here, after looking at it, it's just a simple project, a simple React project. So if you're not familiar with React, or if you don't really know how to set up this Webpack thing with React and Babel, and to add all the different things in here, and how to set up NPM, so I have everything covered in my channel. So you can go probably into, I don't know, if you're like missing Node.js or something, you can go ahead and find the Node.js series and you can learn it from scratch. Otherwise, React, I have a full React series and Webpack series that shows you the full thing here I'm doing. So you can just go ahead, probably just take a look at it in a few tutorials, and you can understand what we're doing in here. You can set up the project. So make sure you go ahead and do that for setting up the projects if you haven't already. And yeah, you can find the links in the description below. So make sure to check it out. Now, without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump into the project. It's pretty straightforward. Actually, it has just an SRC and app.js and the distribution we're using Webpack to build that. So for things first, what you're actually going to need to install is a couple of modules for this work. So beside all of the modules that you're going to need, so if we can jump into the package.json. So this is the modules you got, actually the dependencies thing to power up to build React and build it with Webpack and Babel, all the different things. So this is what you're going to need alongside the CSS. So with Babel Layout, the 7th version of Babel, which is the latest one, the time this video comes up, the Node.js for compiling Sass, React DOM, and the style layout, and of course the Webpack compilers. So this is what you're actually going to need. The other thing, or the main thing we're going to need, is we need to install the Draftjs. So the Draftjs module, so we're going to need to go ahead and install that. So npm install is going to be the draft or dash.js, and save as a real dependency. Just going to need to use the DDD for just giving it a little bit more advanced log and seeing actually everything being logged to us in the console in here, so we can clearly see what is going on behind the scenes with npm installing all the packages. So as you can probably see in here, it's pretty simple thing to work with the Draft.js. If you can jump back in here, so it has a pretty self-explanatory documentation you can easily get started with, but I'm just gonna show you and let you start with it in a very easy way. So all you're gonna need to do is just install this one, and like by the time this being installed, let's go ahead and jump into the project and try to set up some things with our projects and React. So under the SRC, let's go ahead and create a renderer file. So this renderer file is going to be responsible for actually rendering all of the, I don't know why this is just a little bit of lagging, I think the recording software, but anyway, sorry for this, guys. As I was telling you, the renderer is going to be responsible for rendering everything with the React. So this is going to be render.gsx, just because we are going to use a GSX on it, so it could probably be recognized by Visual Studio Code. Now let's go ahead and import things. So starting off with React, import React from React, of course, and obviously you're going to need to import React DOM from its module, of course. So from React DOM, simple like this. Now let's go ahead and try to, I don't know, let me just go into the SRC again. Do a new folder. I'm gonna call this components. So this is gonna hold our components. And first things first, let's just start with, I don't know, like editor or something. So an editor component that holds the whole editor and renders it. So it's gonna be GSX. This is the main editor thing, and we're gonna go to the render, and here what we're actually going to do is let's go to the editor back again. Let's go and import React as we always do from React, obviously, and the other thing we're going to need to import, well, this is it, and go ahead and create a class that holds that. So as you can probably see, I'm just going through that very fast and very quickly. So if you're not understanding that, you probably don't really know React that much or that well. So make sure to go ahead and watch more tutorials, do more exercises about React, or watch my tutorials. Of course, I have like a couple of tutorials and a couple of practical examples, shows everything I'm doing right here to understand how actually React, and you can probably work with it as I'm doing right now. So this is the constructor. We're going to take the props, as you know. I'm going to call the super method with the props again to initialize the actual React component method. And here it's going to take a render method. The render method is obviously going to be responsible for rendering the actual editor. I'm just going to go ahead and return it dev, and I'm going to give it a class for now. For now, I'm not going to add any CSS or something. Just make it super simple. So I'm just going to give it a class name, and I'm just going to go and tell it the editor container, and it's going to be very simple, as you can probably see in here. So not that much of a thing to take care about. Hello world, let me just go ahead and put it there so you can clearly see what is going on behind the scenes. Now we have the render.js. Now let's go ahead and try to import the actual modular here, which we're not exporting yet. I'm going to export it as a default class. So I'm just going to say export default, save that back again. Let's go ahead and import the editor from there. So from components / editor, and then here we're going to need to render it. So I'm going to use React DOM.render, and for the rendering we're actually going to give it the actual element, which is going to be the editor. So the editor, and we're going to do render it, reference it, and the other thing we're going to need to go to the documents, get element by ID. We're going to need to reference the roots, which we haven't created yet. So let's just go ahead and do this into the distribution folder. We're going to need an HTML file for this. So I'm just going to call it index.html, and it's going to be probably just a simple HTML boiler palette. So I'm going to use that extension for this. It's going to help me a lot. And here under the body tag, I'm going to add a script. You know what a script I'm going to add, which is the app.js. So to load everything, and here I'm going to create a div with a root, an ID in here. So this is the main container that's going to hold our Draft.js editor. And this is where all the rendering going to go. So pretty much you're familiar with that already. And without further ado, let's just go ahead and try to import that from going into the src and the render, and it should actually render that. Now let me go ahead and run Webpack for this watch. So I'm going to run Webpack into the watch. You can go ahead and add into the package.json some scripts for doing this. So I'm just going to call this the watch scripts, so you can easily use that. So I'm gonna webpack --watch for watching the files and everything. And now hopefully it works pretty much fine. Let's go ahead and take a quick look for this. Well, let's go ahead and I think this is not actually working as expected to be, but let me just try to use this extension, open in default browser to open up. Is actually in the default browser, and here we go. We've got that working with hello world. If you can go ahead, pull off the dev tools from here, so you can clearly see React is working and everything is working pretty much fine. We're getting our text back. Now let's go ahead and try to render out the actual Draft.js editor. So here everything gonna be a holdout bug from the actual editor class that we have in here. So we need to import some classes or some functions and objects that are going to require to render or to display the actual Draft.js editor. So we're going to need first the editor state. The editor state is pretty much the main state that holds the actual editor. So we can go back in here. Let me just go ahead and show you my example. So you can clearly see here we have like a color, different color. You can type things. You can go through many lines. You can change the color. You can make it like not bold anymore or something. Just remove the style, and you can do a hell of a lot of things. So all of the data right here, all the colors, all of the bold, all of the style being selected and different things, the text sizes, the text fonts, and different other things is being saved actually on the editor state. And the editor state is an immutable object, which pretty much means whenever you try to update that or change something on it, you're actually going to keep the current version, but create a new version and change on it and set it as the current version, while the previous version gonna be like right there. It's not gonna be removed. This is how you can allow undo and redo functionalities on your editor, and this is how actually Draft.js actually works. So it doesn't actually change anything. It's an immutable object, which pretty much means it changed by creating a new instance, but keeping the old one and just creating the new one, doing some changes on it and setting it as the currently working editor state, and so on and so forth. So this is the main thing. We're going to need to require the editor from this. I'm going to call this the Draft.js probably. So this is going to be the actual editor that I'm going to like display on here. And here, since this is the editor container, I'm just going to call this an editor. And for this editor, you're going to take a couple of things actually. So let me just go ahead and put the first simple thing, which is the placeholder, which as you can probably see here, if I remove everything, you can clearly notice a simple, cool placeholder that I chosen, explore your way in. So you can put whatever. Let me just go ahead and put that. So it's quite a good slogan or placeholder to start off with. So explore your way in. Okay, just some dots, and there's no actual comma. The other thing pretty much that you're actually going to need for the editor is the editor state. So you have to, like, whenever an editor state changes in here, you have to like change it and like push it back into the actual editor. So here you're going to need to save it into the actual state. Let me just go ahead and put that. So this dot state equals an empty state, and I'm going to call this editor state. So we're going to need to use the editor state, the main objects, to create a new empty state. So you have to do that. Like this is the first initialization you need to do by creating an empty editor state, which is going to pretty much return an empty editor state with no text, no selection, nothing at all. So this is all it's going to do. As simple as that. So here you're going to need to give it the editor state. So I'm just going to like give it this dot state dot editor state. So you have to give it that. And the other main important thing you need to do is the actual onChange, I believe, yeah, on the onChange callback. So the onChange callback is going to be invoked or going to be called or executed once something is here in change. So as you can clearly see, when I'm typing things in here, the editor state is actually being updated and the onChange callback is being invoked. So this is what I mean by the onChange callback. So you have to invoke it, and whenever it's being invoked, what it takes in here, it takes the actual editor state. So as first things first, but I don't really like doing this. So I'm just going to create a new function for it, or a new method to verify, since we're actually using an object-oriented programming here. So I'm going to call this update editor state, and the update editor state is going to take an editor state. So the same objects that it holds in here, it has the type of editor state. So it's just going to like supply it to us automatically by the editor objects in here, or the editor class. So we don't have to worry about that. And all we're going to need to do is call the set state. So I'm going to call the set state with this, and I'm going to set the editor state equals to the editor states, and using ES6 and the new ES6 syntax. So since the key and the value names actually matches, so just going to like supply once and it knows what it does. So without putting the key or the value right over there. So here, this is how we changed. Let me just go ahead and put that right over here. So I'm just going to say this dot update editor state, and need to bind the current context, as you already know, because if you don't do that, you're going to probably face up some errors, since this function is not going to be called on this scope. It's going to be called another scope, so it doesn't know about this existence we are using to set the state. So we have to give it a boundaries before it exits the actual scope. So yeah, this is what a bind method is being used for. And so far we're getting actual problems, so I don't know what is actually happening. A duplicate declaration for the editor, yeah, we've got that. We shouldn't do that actually, but what we can probably do for this one is call this as, or let me just call this as like a draft editor to make it, you know, more concise. And let me just go ahead and call the draft editor in here. Now should save, and you know, Webpack now should compile successfully with no problems. You can probably see in here. So this is all you're gonna need to do for the updated state. Hopefully I'm not forgetting about anything special in here or something. But as far as I can tell, this is all you're gonna probably need. So make sure to go ahead and update the state. This is as far as the most important step to do whenever you're actually having a Draft.js. So you have to update the state. And I pretty much, as I told you, the editor state or the draft editor by itself on the onChange callback is gonna like give us the editor state, the new editor state. So all we have to do is keep track of it, and whenever this is gonna be re-rendering, it's just gonna like place the editor state equals the new editor state, and so on and so forth. So this is all you're gonna need to do. Now we're going back into the index.html, and well, I have in here, but you can't probably notice that because it has no style. But as you can clearly see, whenever I go ahead and hover over the actual placeholder, the actual cursor, the mouse cursor changes. So, and like I do this, like I can probably see in here, and it can type things out. So, hello world, welcome to the new tutorials and stuff, or new Draftjs and so on and so forth. So yeah, this is the basic things to start off with. You can add the styles in here with yourself, or you can wait for the next video tutorials actually to start with more complicated things and advanced things. And if you guys actually want more tutorials about the Draft.js, I would very much to do tutorials for you, since there isn't that much of tutorials actually out there for the developers. So I found like a very hassle or like problems trying to learn that alone without that tutorials when I started off with it. So you can probably benefit from my experience, and why not? So I can give you that. So as far as I can tell, this is all you're gonna need to do for the beginners stuff. This is like actually very basic. If you can clearly notice, if you want to notice that the editor state is clearly changing, what you can do is console log the new editor state by doing this. So you can give us this dot state, so dot editor state. So you can clearly see that the editor state, whenever we type something, it actually changes and it gets updated every time. So this is how the actual Draft.js can keep track of which character is being typed, how to style characters, how to add colors, how to add styles, custom CSS styles, how to add blocks like headers, or whatever actually you can think of working with the CSS and the Draft.js and of course React. So it could probably work with you fine. So as you can clearly see, if I try to start typing in here, whatever, the editor state is going to be like, changing every single time I type a new character. And the most important part, it's like an immutable, which means it's not going to change the actual thing. It's just going to create a new instance of it, but keep track of the old one while setting the new one as the actual currently, running editor state and so on and so forth. So as you can probably see, it uses the immutable and uses maps pretty much a lot. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. That was very quick tutorial to, go through the Draft.js and how it actually works. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video tutorial. If you have, just give us a thumbs up. Why not? Comments would be very helpful. And if you really want me to continue in this series and do more tutorials, like creating a brand new editor like this, I'll be very much happy with this to do this actually, guys. So as far as I can tell, thank you guys for watching. See you all guys in the next video tutorial.